Ẹ káàbọ̀ padà sínú ilé agodo wa nílùú Victoria lórílẹ̀‐èdè South Africa. Adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo èyí tí ń gbọ́ wa èyí tí ń wò wá ẹ̀yin tá a jọ ń ṣe tí gbogbo ẹ̀ tó fi ń dùn tó fi ń dùn tó fi ń kún hùn bí ìdodo ẹ̀fọn. Adúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yìí. Ojúmọ́ ire ló mọ́ wa lónìí, ojúmọ́ ayọ̀, ojúmọ́ àlàáfíà, ojúmọ́ ọ̀bùn.
Thank you, everyone joining us. We welcome you back to another great time on the African Portal Radio TV International. We really appreciate one of the great leaders, our father, that is joining us live from Cape Town. We thank you, sir, for the pressure of your time. And it's going to be a great time on this program this hour. Yes, you can hear us. We are coming back. Let's just go back to the studio. We're going to do it together. We're coming back. Let's roll it. Let's jingle it. Enjoy this music before we get into the business of the day. Enjoy this music. We are coming back. We're going to have a very great conversation. It's going to be a lovely time. All right, thank you very much, everyone joining us. We really appreciate your time on this broadcast. This hour is going to be a great conversation on this program this hour. This is the African Portal Radio TV International. Welcome, everyone, no matter the country you reside, no matter where you are. You're going to be having the conversation with one of our very own in the studio. Our father is here with us that we're going to be having the conversation together. Sir, can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, I'm using my phone now. I'm not using my laptop. I can hear you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much, Daddy. I really appreciate you, and we thank you for your time. In times such as this, it's time to look to you in the face and say, well done for the great work you are doing in our community, both here and globally. We really appreciate you, sir. Thank you for believing in this cause, and thank you for always been there. Every time we call you, you always make yourself available to address, to help, and also to enlighten the people, especially about our community and about what's going on in our society. And I really appreciate your efforts and what you are doing for this great continent, Africa. So let me allow you to introduce yourself to the listeners at home, the position in the community, and who you are.
My name is Timothy Adebayo Fasheun. I live in South Africa. I moved to South Africa in 1996, and I'd worked at the university in South Africa and also with the government, Department of Environmental Affairs. I retired some years ago from service. I now run my consultancy and training scheme in Cape Town. Yes, my area of specialization is environmental management. I studied in the UK and also in Nigeria. Yes, thank you. That's all for now. I hope you could hear me.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Èyí tí gbọ́ wa ní gbogbo àgbáláyé, adúpẹ́ pẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èyí tí wò wá, èyí tí ń tẹ̀lé wa, èyí tẹ̀ ń fẹ́ wa, èyí tẹ̀ ń fẹ́ràn tá à ń ṣe, èyí tẹ̀ fẹ́ràn tá a gbé dání akíyé àná yín lọ́gbẹ̀ẹ́nu. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí Àtàgbé The African Portal rẹ̀ ti gbé wọn wá láìmọye ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà ní gbogbo ìgbà tí iṣẹ́ ìlórílẹ̀-èdè South Africa àti ọ̀kan lára àwọn ògúnnágbòǹgbò tí ń dátọ́ lẹ́nu ìgbín, òun náà ni Yorùbá ń pè wọ́n jẹ́ onímọ̀, wọ́n sì jẹ́ ẹni tí iṣẹ́ ìlú àti ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ààbò ìlú tó yé yékéyéké. Oore ọ̀fẹ́ àti àánú la rí gbà láti gbé bàbá wá sójú òpó ètò yìí àmọ́ ṣe lédè òyìnbó àti lédè Yorùbá àmọ́ gbé wọnú ara wọn. Bàbá wa mú kí mo nà yín lọ́gọ ẹnu. Ẹ káàsán, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò yìí.
Ẹ ṣé olóòtú.
Ẹ ṣé bàbá. Bàbá wa, inú mi dùn pé èmi àti yóò jọmọ ní fọ̀rọ̀ jomitoro ọ̀rọ̀ pàápàá nípa àwùjọ àti àwọn nǹkan tó ń lọ ní àwùjọ wa. Tí a bá fojú inú wò, a rí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn nǹkan ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní àyíká wa, pàápàá nípa ọ̀rọ̀ àyíká, nípa òjò ń rọ̀, òòrùn ń ràn. Gbogbo àwọn nǹkan wọ̀nyí jẹ́ àwọn nǹkan tí kò fi bẹ́ẹ̀ rí bó ṣe rí ní ayé ọjọ́ wọn àná. Ìyàtọ̀ ti bá ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ bí ojú ọjọ́ ṣe máa ń rí ní àwọn ọjọ́ àná. Bàbá wa, ẹ kàn bá wa ṣàlàyé bí àgbàlagbà àti onímọ̀ tí ó sì lóye nípa ọ̀rọ̀ àyíká, kí ni àwọn nǹkan tó fà á tí ojú ọjọ́ tí ò fi rí bí ó ṣe rí ní ọjọ́ àná nígbà tẹ́yìn ń dàgbà? Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, ẹ bá wa nà ń bẹ̀ fáwọn èèyàn.
Eléyìí tí àwa rí nígbà tí táwa kékeré kò rí bí eléyìí nígbà yẹn. Òjò máa ń rọ̀ lásìkò tiẹ̀. Ọ̀gbẹlẹ̀ dẹ̀ máa ń wá lásìkò tiẹ̀. Tí ń sìn gbogbo nǹkan tí ó ti ń yí padà. Nǹkan tó fà á ni pé bí 40 ọdún sẹ́yìn or maybe 50 ọdún sẹ́yìn, gbogbo nǹkan tí a ti ń ṣe nípa pé ká dálé iṣẹ́ lẹ̀, ká wà industrialize, gbogbo ẹ̀ a ti ń fi oríṣiríṣi àwọn gas if I can say that sí orí afẹ́fẹ́, sí òkè, sí òfurufú. Ìyẹn ló dàbí pé ó ń ṣiṣẹ́ bíi pé ìgbà tí èèyàn bá fi blanket bora, tó tútù bá múyàn, tí èèyàn bá da blanket bora, òru á bẹ̀ sí múyàn. So gbogbo nǹkan tó ń wà, àwọn gases tá ti emit through industrialization, ó ti block, kì í ṣe pé ó block oòrùn pàṣẹ, but ó ti trap ẹ̀. Nǹkan gbọ́dọ̀ ń ṣe dá ni pé tí oòrùn bá ràn, tó bá ti balẹ̀, á padà, ìmí á tún padà sókè. So ó wá balance, so kò ní jẹ́ pé ó gbóná jù, ó tutù jù. Ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tí eléyìí tó yẹ kó padà lọ kò lọ mọ́, á tún padà wá bá wa again, ó wá cause overheating, ìyẹn náà pè ní climate change. Temperature àti wá lọ sókè. So nǹkan tó bá dẹ̀ tó bá ti gbóná jù, nǹkan míì á tún wọ̀. Àwọn bí omi gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ló máa affect. So bó ṣe rí nìyẹn. Màá fẹ́ sọ pé nǹkan tí àwa la fà á torí pé a pump so much carbon dioxide àti methane into the atmosphere in the course of industrialization.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. A lot of people will be connecting to this program, and I intentionally do it in two ways, in Yoruba and English. I know there are some terminology that we need to use English for, and I'm going to be more of English on this program for those of you that are joining us. Sir, I appreciate what you explain in Yoruba, but let's look at it. Climate change. A lot of people seems not believe such thing, that like in some parts of Africa, people believe that there is no such thing. That is just an excuse. There is no such thing. So let's explain that. Let's spit it out. What is climate change?
Climate change is the occurrence of extreme weather events. The occurrence, or maybe let's put it another way, unanticipated occurrence of climatic events, things that were not supposed to be that are happening. That is climate change, you see. So you are not expecting it, but it just comes. That is climate change. As for those who doubt it, you see, in science, we rely on data, okay? How do we know that it is changing? Apart from the fact that we are feeling it or we are seeing it. If there's something we call carbon dating. When they look at forest, old trees, and when they cut them off, they record, so to say, what the temperature was. So we have data for nearly about 500 years, even 1,000 years. From that shows the fluctuation of temperature, of rainfall, as contained in old trees and also in the soil. So we have got those records. So when we invented thermometer, when we could then start measuring, when we started using instrumentation, then you join that to that as well, and you will see that since 1970s or 1965 upward, the temperature has been increasing in many parts of the world gradually. And also, in some other parts of the world, the rainfall has been decreasing or increasing. So we have got this measurement. So science relies on measurement, on data, and we have got vast amount of data worldwide to show what the temperature was. Nearly 1,000 years ago, we could go back and you could see what it was. There was, for example, the little ice age that happened. So briefly, then it changed. So people argue that it's a cyclic thing. Okay, if it is a cyclic thing, what we are particular about is the rate of change. The rate of change now is so high, it's steep. It's much steeper than it was before. What I mean by the rate of change is the time it takes the temperature to rise by 2 degrees. Maybe it took 20 years before, but it's taking about 7 years, 10 years now. So the rate of change is so pronounced. So that is what to pay attention to. How fast is it changing? And it is changing so fast. In our lifetime, we have seen so many changes. So people who doubt it should look at the data. Data don't tell lies, and we have got sophisticated means of measuring, of estimating these things these days. Mm.
Thank you, sir. So during the time you are explaining this in Yoruba, you mentioned that industrialization is one of the things that contributes to this climate change. But can we say that we are not supposed to go to industrialization because all the scientists doesn't know that going to industrialization will cause this. Why is it that we go into it when we know that it's going to cause the damage for us, or we don't aware? We just start industrialization and later in life we realize. As a scientist, as somebody, as a professor in this field, why don't the scientists see this coming before we go into industrialization?
So the truth is this, and people don't believe it. The scientists in those days did not actually know the implication of this. They were not aware of it. Even some of the things like the chemical we use, the pollution that resulted into all those things, they did not genuinely know the implication of that. It took a lady who wrote a book, The Silent Spring, in 1970, Silent Spring, to create awareness, to draw the world attention to the effect of industrialization. So the scientists did not know, the investor did not know. So when, after the publication of that book, a lot of things started happening. Then they started saying, okay, let's go back. What was it before? Is it increasing? What was the temperature 50 years before 1970? What was it 100 years? So they went to, then they did that carbon dating, as I told you, and they saw it. So they innocently did it, did that. They were not aware of it. And as soon as they were aware of it, so the United Nations set up the climate change, United Nations Convention for Climate Change to deal with it, so that the world countries can come together to discuss it. You remember the COP28 ended last week in UAE. You see,
Yes, sir.
whereby you come and I've attended many of them. The country come together to address this issue. So, but this the developed country found themselves in a very serious position, because now they made a mistake, and they did not want us to make the same mistake that they made. So when they told us, no, don't burn this charcoal, don't do this, then we say, hey, well, after you have developed, we need to burn charcoal to develop. We need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 to develop as you have developed. How are you to tell us? So what they did was that then they had what they call Annex 1 country, Annex 2 country. So they gave us they were a bit lax. They gave us a quota of emission, you see, so that they also don't, they want us to develop as well. Otherwise they are not going to find market for their business, for their product. So they gave us that gap also to emit to certain amount. Come to think of it, we only contribute to 4% of global emission. Africa contributes 4%. In Africa, is South Africa is the highest contributor, followed by Egypt, followed by Nigeria. Those are the 3 countries that are responsible for the 4% that we contribute. So you then say the other ones come from 96%. Many of them, of course, come from China, you see, and then Europe and America. Yes, China and America. So when they now say, don't do the mistake, don't make the same mistake. So they came up, I'm not defending them, but they came up with strategy. They said that, okay, they will now help us improve on our technology so that they don't pollute. So when we are setting up a smelting industry, they give us the latest technology, which is different from the one they used in 1930s, so that we do not burst so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So they did that. They have technology support. They have also monetary support, carbon funding. So those are the interventions that they have. In short, they did not know the implication of all those things.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I love your response to this question, and it's very important that we look at this problem from the root, so that we can be able to deal with this problem from the root. You mentioned that Africa contribute 4% to the problem that we are facing currently, which is climate change in the world, and the rest of part of the world contribute almost 96%. But let's now look at Africa. I mean, what impact or what damage this is doing to our economy or doing to our soil or our atmosphere?
Very interesting question. You see, even if you should ask me, okay, let me explain. Let's look at it this way. Let me give you something that is closer to home. Look at Mozambique on the map, okay? Picture smoke, let's say smoke, or even sand rising up in Mozambique, okay, vertically to the sky, right? Then when it gets to a level, it gets caught up in the wind that is blowing southward, that is blowing towards South Africa. You understand? So it rises, then it changes direction, then it starts traveling parallel to the earth now, okay? And when you get to South Africa, it starts dropping. Can you imagine that? So something that has happened, so it means that the pollution in Mozambique gets dropped in South Africa. Okay? So the same thing too. So the pollution. Yes. So the pollution in Europe also does the same thing. So they rise. So it's not the question that you are the cause of it or not. So it is there. So it impacts on us. We are not aware. We do not know what is happening in Mozambique, but here we are facing the consequence because the wind blows it to us. We are not aware of what is happening in Netherlands or Switzerland or in Germany, but the thing comes to us. The same thing also from America to Europe, from other parts of the world to Europe. So it is like that. That is what we call interconnection, teleconnection, and it is a very complex system. I hope I've not lost you. So it is
no,
called
sir.
teleconnection.
No, I'm not locked down. I'm just making sure.
Yes. So
I'm just making sure that
happening.
People following us, they are getting something from this. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yes. I just want to make sure that people following us, they are getting something out of this conversation. Continue, sir.
Okay. Yes. So the 4% that we contribute also goes up, but it may end up in the sea. Okay. Let's assume the wind will continue to blow southward. It can end up to the, but if the wind changes direction, it will also go back to Mozambique or to Zimbabwe. You understand? So we are not isolated in the world. That is why United Nations said, you better get together. So even those polluting, they feel it too, because not everything rises. There will still be some droplets. You see, that is why you have a lot of respiratory problems, even in Europe, because of pollution. And that is why the weather is also changing there too, because it's getting warmer and the ice is melting. The ice in the Antarctic is melting. And when the ice melts, the sea level rises. Okay, and all those beautiful coastal mansion holiday resorts can get wiped off. Like we experienced it some times ago in South Africa. I think when there was a surge. Okay, there was a surge and so many holiday homes were destroyed. So it's also happening in Europe as well. And also, one thing I also want to emphasize that the system is so complex. It is when the temperature changes, when it changes, and when the wind also changes, it creates a very fertile ground or situation for development of storm, storm, like thunderstorm, hailstorm, and they rise, even tornadoes, you see, and strong wind that can also destroy. So that is it. So it creates that. It creates a weather system that is very devastating. You see, you have flooding. Then in some areas, then you have desertification. So there are so many things that are at play just because we pump so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, just because we have a lot of methane gas from livestock, from màálù, gbogbo wọn tó bá so methane tó bá ti fat bẹ́ẹ̀, and that methane is even more lethal than carbon dioxide. But we have to eat beef, we have to eat all those things. So all those things work together to set up a very complex weather system, which does not respect boundaries, doesn't respect anybody. So it takes a collective effort. Even if the world becomes sensible today, and we say we are going to do everything right, we are going to use electric vehicle, we are not going to use petrol in our cars, we are not going to release anything to the atmosphere. It will take more than 50 years before the system readjusts to half of what it was in 1920. 50 years. So for it, if we start behaving very well, you can see that we are in a serious problem.
A serious dilemma, a serious dilemma. So I really appreciate your response, and that will take me to the next question. And the next question, you already start mentioning some of it, but I just want you to go deeper into it. How do we know human beings are causing climate change? How do we know that human beings are causing climate change? You've mentioned some of them, you are getting into it, but I want you to get into it real deep so that the people can be able to see that, yes, I am also contribute, like somebody that is now putting something out, like a place where we grow up in Ibadan. Somebody is cooking rice and beans outside, is using firewood. Another person is putting petrol, burning the tires and stuff like that. Kindly enlighten us on this, sir.
So there's something we call anthropogenic activity. Anthropogenic means human activities. You have said it. Human activities, when we decide to industrialize, when we decide to set up a smelting industry at Ajaokuta, when we decide to flare gas in Port Harcourt in the Delta region, when we decide to do things that are, when we decide to cut down all the trees, you see, near Lake Chad, and Lake Chad is dry now. So those are activities that we do on global scale, massive. When we vegetate, when we cut down trees absorb carbon dioxide, you see. They give us oxygen, they absorb carbon dioxide. So once you cut all those trees, then first of all, the land become barren. And then it can absorb so much heat from the sun because the canopy was cooling it before, was protecting it. So when you devegetate, you log. So you open that soil up, and the soil can even be vulnerable to erosion. So those are the things we do on massive scale. Look at the Amazon basin now. A lot of deforestation is going on there. So that is what we do. But on individual basis, when you use firewood, but when you now add a one woman, 2 women, 10 women doing the same thing, even when they are not at the same place, everything still goes up into the system, even when they are scattered, because it is said that matter cannot be created nor destroyed. That carbon dioxide that you release at Ibarapa, and the other one released by somebody in Pine Town or in Joburg, they come up together. They still go because the system is like a balloon. It goes there, so they become addictive. So our lifestyle also do not help because we crave for beef, we crave for paper. For example, now you print everything, and paper is made out of wood. And when the more we use paper, the more wood is felled, and the rate of reproduction is not the same because you have to wait for, except for exotic one, you have to wait for 5 years again before that tree grows up for you to make into pulp. So our lifestyle needs to be done, and it needs to be, we need to perfect it. To improve on it. Then the government policy as well. It's also women activities, greed. Sometimes we do not look at the COPs 28. You see, they are still not come up with final thing now because they are disagreeing. We call it bracket. The first report, we call it bracketed report, whereby you bracket, that is, I'm going to reduce, then you bracket. Don't think, I'm not promising, I'm just thinking about it. So the first publication is full of bracket. That is not commitment. Once you see anything in bracket, I'm not promising, I'm just thinking. Okay, so you can see human nature because people want to develop, they want to do this, but some countries are very sensible. If you listen to what the UAR president said about, and they rely on oil, and he said if this oil has to stop, it has to stop to save humanity. So some of our policies also are not too good enough, and even when they are too good, when they are good, we as implementers, we don't support the government. For example, let me ask the audience, how many of you, when you are not in the room, do you switch off your light? You don't. Many people don't. You leave the lights on. Whereas when you switch off to a room, when you switch off the light in your room, you reduce the amount of carbon dioxide, and then you make that saving available to somebody in Soweto. When you do it in Limpopo, somebody in Soweto, in Khartoum, can benefit from it. You see, but people don't know, and they tell you, I can pay for electricity. What's the big deal? I can pay for water, so I can water my garden. I can wash my car. So our lifestyle is also not too good. Government come up with policy, but we are not disciplined enough to implement.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So let's look at it, because I like what you mentioned about how long it's gonna take for us to reset back to the normal life that it is in the 90s or in the 18th century. But let's look at the people now, that our behaviors towards this, and how we can be able to bring this down. What do we need to do in our own personal, individual life for us to be able to find a solution to this problem, if not permanent solution, or just for us to reduce this in our daily life? What can we do?
Yes, it starts from the homestead, from you. It starts with you and I. Like I said, when you are not in that room, switch off that light. Instead of taking your bath in the bathtub, use shower so as to reduce amount of water you use. If you must wash your car, don't do it too regularly. Before you use your car, if it is better for you to, if it is a place you can walk to, take a walk. If it is safe, keep your car. Don't use it when it is extremely useful, necessary. Okay. These days now, the cars are made, and the more there's something that is going to hit all of us. It's called carbon tax. We did that when we were in government, and we didn't implement it yet because we want people to be aware of it. So when you want to register your car, they look at the age of your car. If you are using a car that is 15, 20 years, it's going to emit a lot. So you pay more for your vehicle license. Okay? Because the modern cars now, they are more efficient. They don't, so they are graded at the amount. When you look, you can Google any of those vehicles, and there is a table there. The amount of carbon dioxide emitted is there. So you are going to pay your vehicle license according to that one. So that is regulating us. So that is in terms of mobility. So our lifestyle, like I said, we need to be disciplined. Our craving for some other things that are so exotic, we have to be disciplined. Also, when we print, why don't we put it electronically instead of we printing? So, and also we minimize travel in our vehicle as much as possible. Also, the shipping, the ships also cost a lot. You know, they use diesel. They are also being regulated. Also, the aircraft too, they are also being regulated. So, and we are coming to a good technology now, that as time goes on, this oil we are talking about will become useless. Well, they will be used for pharmaceutical product, but we are talking about hydrogen cell, whereby you break, water is H2O, you break down that, you separate the hydrogen and oxygen, then you separate the hydrogen, and you can put it in a cell. It's like your USB, and it has a lot of energy. It can power your car. So they are using it for satellite. So that is the future of energy. The future of energy is going to move away from hydrocarbon. So those people who put all their hope in oil and gas industry, they're going to regret it, because the world is changing now. Technology is changing. So, so globally or nationally, we regulate our industries. In environmental affairs, we regulate it. We tell you to do 1, 2, 3, to where you can recycle. We tell you where you can use solar. We tell you. When I was in government, my office it wasn't off grid, but it was wired with solar power and wind turbine in Peter Marisburg, and people came to see it. So we were using solar, we were using everything, so that we were not drawing much from the grid. So that is the kind of the thing that we should be doing. The government must come up with policy, and people must implement those policies if we do not want to ourselves to be extinct. And we believe it cannot happen. The dinosaur, they also, as a result of change in climate, we lost them. And we think we are too clever, we cannot be lost. We can easily be lost, really. We can really get overheated. People are dying of heat wave, isn't it? People die of heat wave. So many people are dying, more people are dying of heat wave every year. Heat wave, because it's too hot. People are also dying of cold. So that's where we are.
Thank you very much for that lovely response. Let's talk about a country like Nigeria that rely on crude oil. You mentioned that the UAE president mentioned that even if need be, if this crude oil will be taken away, so be it. So what will happen to the country like Nigeria that rely on crude oil, that everything about their life is on crude oil? So what will happen to such a country?
Yeah, actually, it will be a tragedy when people don't need your oil to power their industry. When vehicles are no longer, and you know that so many of these cars are electric now. We have got hybrid, and many of these cars are electric now. So they don't use petrol, they don't use diesel. So imagine now if all the ships that also use a lot of diesel if they no longer use them. So they won't buy your oil, they won't buy it. But the oil will be used for some other things, because from the oil they make cloth, they make polythene, they make plastic from oil, you see. There are still some uses for the oil, which pharmaceuticals, they can still use oil, but it will not, their use is not as much as what you are using now for mobility. So the gas, what will happen is that the gas that we have, that we are flaring, which is not a wise thing to do, should have been piped and used to generate electricity. You burn it to generate electricity. But what we are doing is that we are flaring it. We are flaring it. And for flaring it, Nigeria is also paying a penalty. You see, for flaring it, Nigeria is paying penalty for flaring that gas. In UAE, they don't flare it, they collect it, okay, and pipe it over kilometers, hundreds of kilometers, so that you can use it for cooking in your home. You can use it for to drive turbine. It's neater than burning the coal itself. Okay, there's something we have, we call clean coal technology. In South Africa, we have two grades of coal. We have the dirty coal and we have the clean coal. South Africa export the clean coal because those one can be used for pharmaceutical and other uses. So see, the one that we are burning at Eskom is the dirty one, which nobody will buy from us, okay, from South Africa. But now there's a technology to make it clean. So it is dirty because it contains a lot of sulfur. So you have to put it into a chamber to remove the sulfur before it is burnt by Eskom. Okay, so Nigeria may have to do that. So the world may force Nigeria to use that technology if you have to use it to generate electricity. But when the time comes, the cost of removing sulfur compared with the use of hydrogen cell will tell you what to do. Hydrogen cell may be cheaper because water is nearly everywhere. Okay, so you just take the water, you break it, and you remove hydrogen, you break the hydrogen, and you get hydrogen fuel. You see, it's more complicated, but it is cheaper. Then we talk of nuclear energy as well. Nuclear is safer and is cheaper. In Cape Town, a certain percentage of our power, in fact, where I live, is powered by nuclear, because where I live is not too far from the Quebec nuclear station. So we are powered by nuclear energy, which is safer. Although it comes with its own problem. If there's an explosion, we'll be roasted within seconds. If there's an explosion in that place. So we have warning. So we have warning things. We have antenna and the test. They do a drill. So they warn you, and we know where to run to if there is a mishap. But they are perfecting it now. It's been a long time. There has been a mishap. There has been a mishap in Russia. There has been a mishap in Kenya. Sorry, in India and even America. But in the past 5 years, there has not been, because they are perfecting the technology of nuclear power. So Nigeria, we have to try and invest now in the development of alternate technology. We have got wind. We can use solar. We have got map that shows you, even map of Nigeria, where you can tap wind energy. We have got very good coastal area for us to even use wave energy. The wind. When you go to the beach, you see the wave rising up and coming down. You can extract that, and we have got that in the coastal part of Nigeria. So we have got sources, and we have got good abundance of solar energy in the northern part of Nigeria. So we can have solar farm. So we just need to diversify. Mm.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Let's talk about the health side of it. How does the climate change affect my health?
Okay. First of all, heat wave. We can only function under optimal temperature regime. When the temperature is too high, it affects us and one can actually die. It is called heat stroke. So that's externally when the temperature is too high. So we can have. Then you know that climate change is not only temperature increasing, it also means distribution of rainfall, amount of rainfall. So when the rainfall is too much, or when it is even too less, you can have waterborne diseases. Okay. Um, if let's take a look at it this way. You know the mosquito, Anopheles mosquito that gives malaria. All right. So climate change can create a fertile environment for it to incubate and produce more mosquito. For example, mosquito line, malaria line was around Pongola area in northern Zulu land some years ago. But now the malaria has passed Richards Bay. The line has passed Richards Bay. Before, there was no malaria in Richards Bay. But because the temperature, because the climate is changing, so mosquito then can now breed the one that gives you malaria, that gives you and I malaria in Nigeria. You see? So it can breed this mosquito. You see, so that is how it can affect us. It can cause waterborne disease, diarrhea, everything like that because of pathogen. They will be able to breed because either it is too much moist or too dry. That's how it can affect us. Yes. In summary, I think that is it. It's what we feel. But again, if there is no food, if there is food scarcity, if you can no longer grow your food, it can affect us. And there's also something we call climatic migration. When when the place is too dry, people move. So they said the next war, although we're having wars now, but they said the next major war will be over water. You remember Lake Chad? When I was young, Lake Chad was a beautiful place, but now it's dry. So the people no longer could water their livestock. So they come with sword downward to Nigeria to look for pasture. And they come with gun, with AK-47, they come with that, they come with force just to water their livestock. So war will continue, it can trigger war because people are looking for water, people are looking for pasture. That's how it can affect us socially.
All right. Thank you very, very much, sir. What are the benefits of acting on climate change now? What are the benefits of acting on climate change now?
The benefit is that we save the earth. We save the planet for ourselves. There's a tipping a tipping temperature. When we, excuse me, in Paris, I was there at the conference of parties, and we discovered that if the global temperature increases by more than 2%, we'll be in trouble. This is how I normally demonstrate it to my students. You know Ikoto, Tiamanta, story before
Yes, sir.
Ikoto.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, if tẹ́ bá pa ojú ẹ̀ dé, ṣe pé ó stable, àbí tẹ́ bá pa
Yes,
ojú ẹ̀ dé,
yes,
ṣe pé á
yes.
dúró. But ṣe pé ó difficult
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
láti jẹ́ pé kó dúró, àfìgbà tó bá ń spin yẹn nìkan ló máa dúró. But tó bá ti stop spinning, ṣe pé ó máa ṣubú.
Ó máa fẹ̀gbẹ́ lẹ̀.
Bó ṣe rí gan gidi nìyẹn. So tó bá spin, á dúró. But tó bá ti lọ dúró, tó bá ti stop spinning, á ṣubú. That is the tipping bucket. And when they use the most sophisticated of computers, it could not, what we call, it could not predict what will happen. We will say, big can jam. It's like, I don't know how much mathematics you know. When you divide by 0, it becomes infinity. You know that? 1 divided by 0 is infinity.
Yes.
So it came to that spot. So even the global temperature reaches 2 degrees centigrade, and the global amount of carbon dioxide is above 335 parts per billion, per million. The computer could not simulate what will happen. It says it does not know. And when the computer says that, it is catastrophe. It means there's a place of no return. So what we did in Paris that time was to say, okay, let it not get to that temperature. So the last one now, they said we are 1.8 degrees, 1.8 degrees centigrade. In Paris, when we were discussing it, I think it was 1.3 or 1.5. So that is the tipping thing. And if we do well, if we listen, if we address the energy issue, this oil and gas industry, we may stay within that regime, so it doesn't get to 2, and it doesn't get to 330. It doesn't go up beyond 335 parts per million. So if we're able to contain that, then we'll be in a better shape. But if we are not, that may be the end of humanity. There will be food shortage, there will be death, there will be outbreak of fire, more outbreak of fire, because some places will be so dry. And of course, there will be storm. Small island like Lagos, by 2040 or 2060, Lagos should be underwater. Yeah, that is the prediction. Lekki, 2040 should be underwater. So when they were developing Lekki, it was not a wise thing, because that's the global prediction. If the whole of Lagos Island is going to be underwater by 20, why must we then go to Lekki, which is even lower? So, and that is how it is, and it is happening already. So we have the small island countries. The United Nations recognize them because their islands are going to be swallowed up. So they are appealing for countries who can take them. There's a long-term plan to take them, to migrate. It is that serious, because their countries are going to sink. You can Google it. You can Google small island countries with respect to climate change.
I really appreciate this information you are releasing to the space. Sir, can I make a difference? Can everyone make a difference? Can we make a difference?
Yes, you can make a difference simply by switching off the light when you are not there in the room, by minimizing the use of your car, by minimizing the amount of paper you use when you print and so on. You can minimize that if you are able to use energy sparingly. And if you have the means, you can also have inverter in your house. You can harvest solar energy so that you don't draw much from the grid. So if you have been using 100 units, for example, You can supply, if you have solar inverter, you may cut it down to about 70 or 50. And if you have a powerful one, you can even be off grid, and it is clean. It is clean. But let me put something. When we say it is clean, people will tell you this the inverter, the battery were manufactured using energy and water. You understand? So that philosophy.
I understand,
The inverter and the battery, they were used using high
and the
energy.
energy.
Yeah,
Sir,
yeah.
our time is moving very fast. We already spent 56 minutes on this conversation. I just quickly want to go to the Yoruba version of it a bit as we are rounding up now, just to tidy up some one or two things. So let's quickly look at it for benefit of those that listen to us in Yoruba land. I just want you to advise somebody out there in Yoruba and also advise them in English. Then we call it.
Yes. Ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi, gbogbo wa la lè ṣe la ní nǹkan láti ṣe nípa bí ojú ọjọ́ ṣe ń padà. Ibi tí tá a bá wà nílé wa, ibi tí iyàrá kò ní ìdí pé ká tanná sí yàrá, ká paná yàrá yẹn tá a bá sí ńbẹ̀. Tó yẹ pé sitting room la wà, ká tanná sí sitting room. So nǹkan tá a tún lè ṣe ni pé ká ra inverter bíi solar tó lè máa fún wa ní electricity, eléyìí tá a fi máa depend lé ti ìjọba, so that torí iná tá à ń níyẹn ní Kainji dam ni ló ti wá lóòótọ́, à ń lo hydro láti ṣe ó dáa, ṣùgbọ́n ìmíì bíi ẹ̀gbin power something kìíní diesel là ń lò ń bẹ̀, ibòmíì wà tó dẹ̀ pé èédú là ń lò. So nǹkan tí à ń sọ ni pé tá a bá lè try láti reduce àwọn yẹn àtúndà, then ká má tún bẹ̀ sí gégi inú igbó mọ́. Tá a bá ti ń gégi inú igbó, ká máa gbin igi ló dáa, ká máa gbìn torí igi yẹn òun ló fún wa ní oxygen, òun ló dẹ̀ tún máa ń absorb carbon dioxide tí tá à ń filẹ̀. So gbogbo wa la nípa láti kó ní kíní.
Nǹkan tí ẹ bá sọ èdè òyìnbó rẹ̀, a ní ìṣẹ́jú kan tá a fi kó lórí ètò, ẹ bá sọ ti èdè òyìnbó rẹ̀ ká tó dípò àwọn àdágbére. Ẹ bá gbà àwọn ènìyàn ju lédè òyìnbó.
We just have to be very disciplined in our lifestyle by minimizing the amount of carbon we emit, that we call carbon footprint. So what amount of carbon is your car emitting? So if it is not necessary, don't use that car. Take a walk or cycle if it is safe. So let us reduce that. And also let us reduce the amount of water we are using in our house as well. Let us harvest rain. Let us harvest rain and use it when it is necessary. We can use renewable energy like solar and wind to power our house, to supplement the supply from the grid. That way we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate your time coming out to be part of this conversation. We are together with Professor Timothy Adebayo of Fasheun. Professor Timothy Adebayo is a professor and also one of the great leaders of our community, and is also the executive director of the great company doing well in our community. Is executive director of Timothy Fasheun Environmental Pty. Sir, in times to come, we will bring you back on this program every now and then to sensitize and also to enlighten our people towards how to manage our environment. Thank you very much for the pleasure of your time. We really appreciate it. Out of your busy schedule, you sacrifice this hour for us to have the conversation with you. You will live long, sir. We appreciate you so much. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Nice.
Thank you.
Having you too.
Have a great evening. God bless you, sir.
And you
thank
too.
You, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
All right, sir. All right, everyone. Thank you for your time. You've added to yourself. Please let's minimize what we are using, especially in the area of electricity and water. Let's make sure that we're part of the solution. Don't let us be part of the problem. This is happening and it's real, and it's something we need to be talking about in our space. So the African Portal will put it upon ourselves to educate people about how to maintain our environment, how to reduce the carbon in our society and in our environment, and also how to live a green life so that we plant more trees, plant more grass, plant things that will absorb the carbon in the space. Don't let us pollute the air. Let us rather save our space from the pollution. Thank you very much for those of you that are connecting to us. We really appreciate it. And this is where we're going to be drawing the curtain. But before we say goodbye, we still have a few things that we want to bring to you. Remember that this Sunday is going to be a great Sunday at Iyabe Restaurant. Iyabe Restaurant is the only place we can recommend to you. 2024 of this month is going to be a great time, and also 30th is going to be a great time. It's Sunday, so at Iyabe, that is the only place we can recommend to you. So for those of you that you want to enjoy yourself, want to enjoy your Christmas and New Year, all the road leads to People Islands Restaurant, Iyabe, in Pretoria, South Africa. You can call them on their phone number 012-440-1326, or you can call them on 084-278-7018 or 061-808-808-0683. Call them, or you can visit their website www.peoplesislandsrestaurant.co.za. That is the only place we can recommend to you when it comes to having a good time and enjoy your holiday. Go to Iyabe, you will never regret of doing so. Gbogbo ẹtí buhari gbogbo àgbáláyé àdúgbò ẹ̀kọ́ òpùlọ́wọ́ yìí fún pé ẹ bá wa darapọ̀ lórí ètò yìí lọ́jọ́ tí tòní ní láti máa sọ wípé ó dijọ́ mi ò dọjọ́ rẹ̀. Ẹ má gbàgbé pé gbogbo bí ìgbádùn tẹ́fẹ́ jẹ́ ìgbádùn ara yín ọ̀dọ̀ Iyabe náà nìkan náà ni ibẹ̀ lálẹ́ fi ọwọ́ rẹ̀ sọ̀yà fún yín. Ibẹ̀ nìkan náà ló dàrú sí, ibẹ̀ náà lè lọ láti lọ jẹ ìgbádùn Kérésìmesì àti ọdún tuntun. Ọ̀dọ̀ Iyabe lọ́jọ́ Sunday 24 yóò wọn ó wà ṣíṣí ibẹ̀ iyán àti ẹran tí ó dá gbogbo ẹ̀ pátápátá ló wà lọ́dọ̀ wọn. Ní Sunday tí ó gbẹ̀yìn oṣù yìí tó sì gbẹ̀yìn ọdún náà pẹ̀lú wọ́n wà ṣíṣí. Ẹ máa lọ bẹ̀, eré gbogbo ó dọ̀dọ̀ Iyabe People's Island Restaurant. Ibẹ̀ náà nìkan la lè fòpin ẹ̀gbárí fún yín. Ojú òní tiwa. Ẹ sì má gbàgbé wípé lọ́jọ́ Sátidé tí ń bọ̀ yìí náà ni Nikki yóò máa kó àwọn ọmọdé àti àwọn àgbà tí àjọ máa ṣe wẹ̀jẹwẹ̀mu fún ọdún tuntun. Nikki TV, Nikki Assurance. Eré gbogbo ó dìbì tí ayẹyẹ ó ti wáyé lọ́jọ́ Sátidé tí ń bọ̀ yìí. Ètò náà wọlé sójú òpó ètò yìí láìpẹ́ láì jìnnà. Ẹ jẹ́ àjọṣe wa náà ní ojú òní tiwa. To everyone listening to us, join us this Saturday as Nikki TV is going to be having Christmas party. It's going to be a great time. I'm inviting every one of you. In the next hour, on top of the hour, Nikki TV will be on this radio station that will be talking about that program. See you there, and God bless every one of you. Thank you very much, sir, Professor Adebayo Fasheun, for your time on this program. We really appreciate it, and for the knowledge that you share to our people. Please, let's take it and let's think about it. Let's take care of our environment. It's very, very important. Let's do that to save our environment, to save our home, and to live a good life and make sure we live in a good environment. God bless you. Have a great weekend and have a great day and enjoy the rest of your day. God bless and have a beautiful time. Remember, the African Portal 2023 award is coming. I'm inviting every one of you. Be there. Let's see you there. God bless you. Bye.